This overload.
Welcome to Technically Speaking, the show for the technically challenged. My name is Stephanie, and today I thought we would talk about some of the most common questions I'm asked every day. I'm guessing if I were a doctor, for example, you'd stop me in the grocery store and ask me about, what's better, Tylenol or Advil. Or perhaps if I were a botanist or something, you'd ask me what you should be planting. But since I'm a computer expert, people stop me all the time and ask the same questions. I thought perhaps if I did a whole episode on them, maybe I'd get lucky and all those people would watch it and I'd get new questions starting next week. If not, at least I can tell them to go to the website at 4VS and listen for the answers. So the top 5 questions that I'm asked every day. The first question I'm asked at least several times a day is, I'm in the market for a new computer. What kind of a computer should I purchase? And that's generally followed by, how much is this going to cost me? Well, the good news is computers have come way down in price. So if you're in the market for a new computer right now, undoubtedly the computer you buy today is going to be a heck of a lot cheaper than the last computer you bought. In fact, I would dare say you don't need to spend more than $500 for a typical computer for your house. Maybe even a lot less. So that's the good news. The other good news is you've never had more options than you have today, which might be part of the bad news. I think that's why people get so confused. So the first thing you want to think about is, what do you want in a computer? Where are you going to put it in your home? I'm presuming we're talking about a home, not an office. Is it something you want to carry around with you, or are you going to have a set spot on your desk that you're using it? And then, what are you going to use it for? I have up here on our picture the 3 main types of computers today. On top we have desktop computers. A desktop computer, by its very name, lives on a desktop. It's not something you're going to throw in your purse and carry around with you. You really can't even bring it to work with you. You'd have to have a heck of a briefcase. There are different pictures of what desktop computers look like, but basically you're looking at one right here. A desktop computer would have a separate screen and a keyboard, and as I said, you want to have a certain spot in your house for it. It's probably the most comfortable as far as the biggest screen and you're sitting at a nice desk, but if portability is something you're looking for, that's definitely not going to be for you. Our next category are laptops, like this one here. Laptops have a keyboard attached, and you can open and close them, stick them in a purse. It's really good if you travel a lot or for business to have a laptop. And our final category are tablets. I have a whole stack of tablets over here. Tablets are, of course, the latest and greatest. Everybody wants a tablet. But there are good points and bad points to all of these. So before we even talk about price or anything else, which one do you want? Now, if you're using a computer primarily so that you can work from home, you leave the office and you need to catch up on work from home, I would say you're probably looking at a desktop. If you'd like to carry that same computer back and forth to work, then a laptop might be your thing. But most people aren't actually working from home. They're lying on a sofa, playing trivia crack, answering email, and maybe surfing YouTube a little bit. That's why our tablets have become such a big market. Neither of these things is quite as comfortable on a sofa as a tablet. But there is a lot of crossover too. For example, these desktop computers nowadays have touch screens, just like a tablet. And if you opted for a laptop, because of the portability, and you've said, the only thing is I don't like typing on this little tiny keyboard, you can actually take either your old keyboard from your desktop computer or buy one for about $10, plug it right into your laptop, and then type on something much larger. In fact, this laptop is hooked up to a keyboard, it's hooked up to a mouse, and it's hooked up to this screen. You could see there I've hooked up the two with a wire because I wanted the biggest screen possible for you. So I have a smaller screen. So having a laptop doesn't necessarily mean that you're cutting down on any of those conveniences. Now our tablets come in all sizes nowadays, from the largest tablets, medium. Now this one happens to be a cell phone, but the cell phones are getting so big that they might as well be another tablet. These are great that they can fit into your purse. What people complain most about them is that you're typing with one finger. That could be annoying. So they've come up with a solution to that. There are some cases that come with a built-in keyboard. So if I just slide a tablet right into this case, I'll take the medium-sized one. I can actually put up a little kickstand and have a tablet with a keyboard. So there's an opportunity to have the best of all worlds. So whatever you decide on, the laptop, the desktop, or the tablet, you do have some interchangeability. The next thing you want to think about after what type of computer you want is how much computer you really need. Now I have to be honest with you. If you go to any computer store worth their salt, they're going to tell you you need the biggest and best and brightest and most expensive. Now let's be honest. If you're sitting around answering email and watching a couple of videos, you don't need the same computer that perhaps Bill Gates needs on his office desk. Regardless of how much you spend on the computer also, computers are built with built-in obsolescence, meaning whatever you buy, you're probably going to want a new one in between 3 to 5 years, even if you got the best and the brightest. That's why I gave out a target number of no more than $500. I know the computer salesman would say you need more, but in all honesty, you really don't. Unless you are doing huge amounts of video editing a la Steven Spielberg, or manipulating documents like some high-powered accountants or such, a basic computer is probably all that you need. So let's go on to our second question. What is the cloud, and does it matter? This one I answer many times a day. People don't know what the cloud is, and they're terrified of it. Whatever it is, they don't want it. If we look at this picture here, we'll see a little bit of what the cloud means. What it really means is that all of your documents and everything don't exist on your actual computer. In this picture, they exist up in the cloud. Now, the cloud is not up in the sky. What it really means is that it exists on a remote computer that your computer can access at any time. Think about email, for example. Can you check your email from home? Can you check it from work? Can you also check it from your cell phone? You can. The email doesn't actually go to any of those devices. The email exists on a remote server. Server meaning computer. Your email exists in the cloud. And you can go from either a cell phone or a home computer or a work computer and access that same email. Well, isn't that convenient? It would be pretty horrible if you can only get things from one computer. Now, without even realizing it, you're probably using the cloud already. Of course, for email, many people are using Flickr or Shutterfly or something for their photo sharing and saving. They come off for a vacation and they upload all their photos and everyone can see them. That's the cloud too. If you're using Facebook, all of your photos and your comments and everything are being saved someplace else. That's the cloud. So there's nothing to be afraid of with the cloud. In fact, without even realizing it, you're using it every day. But nowadays, there are ways of using the cloud in a more personal way that are going to help you. For example, back in the day, if I had been using this computer for years and years and years, and every single document I made was on this computer, and one day I woke up and the computer had crashed. You might have lived through this kind of thing yourself. And now I'm paying hundreds and hundreds of dollars to try to get somebody to restore it because I'm screaming, everything I own is on that computer. Nowadays, you don't need to save your documents to the computer. You can save them to the cloud, meaning when you go to save something, put it on a remote server. This way, if my computer crashes or falls off the back of a truck or even gets stolen, I'm not too concerned about it. I still have all of my documents. That's a wonderful thing. They say when it comes to things that are that important, pictures of children, important documents, you should actually save them to 2 locations. One might be your computer or an external hard drive, and the other might be the cloud. This way, in case something happens, you still have a backup copy. So really, there's nothing to be afraid of with the cloud. The cloud has been in use for years and years. It's just become that word now that people are afraid of, the cloud. And no, when we look up in the sky, there are not computers and data flying around up in the white puffy things. That's not what it means at all. But you should use it to your advantage. Use it so that you can access your pictures and your documents from just about any place. Some people use the cloud to stream movies in their house or music. Sometimes I'll be working on something in my office and then all of a sudden I'm lying on the couch and realize I forgot to mention something on a document. I can pull it up on my phone. The same documents are in both places. So once you put aside your fear, you'll realize the cloud is actually an advantage, not something to be feared. Speaking of fear, there's not much that can frighten you as much as accidentally hitting delete when you shouldn't have. Fortunately, there are very few things on a computer that you've deleted forever. The first thing I want to mention is when you first do something that you wish you could undo, there is an undo button on the computer. You would simply press the button on your computer that says Control and press Z. If there's one thing you should remember from today's episode, it's Control Z. That'll undo whatever the last thing you did is. If you've done 2 things, hit Control Z twice and you'll undo it. I'm telling you, the undo button has saved more people and headaches than anything else on that computer. Control Z. Now, the thing about deleting items, if you've actually deleted something, whether you've dragged it to the trash can or hit delete, whether it's on your computer or even on a little camera card or anything else, when you first delete something, it's not really gone. The space that it occupied is still there. It's not officially gone until you've written over that space with something else. Think of it this way. We used to have cassette tapes back in the day. If you erased something from a cassette tape, it wasn't really erased until you recorded a new song over it. Once you recorded a new song, then the space got filled in. So the important thing, if you've accidentally deleted something, whether it's one item or an entire folder full of documents, is do nothing. The more you do, the more chance of you overwriting that empty space on your computer. So if your Control Z doesn't bring back whatever you wanted, there are ways of getting back just about anything. First of all, there are services that'll help you with that if you've done some major damage. But if you want to just simply go to another computer, remember, do nothing with the computer you've deleted, but go to another computer and type in, how do I recover a lost file? How do I recover a lost document? Whatever it was that you accidentally deleted, it's still there. It's hidden, but it's there. So don't do anything further on the computer in question. The more you do, the worse you're making it. Kind of like when you make a little mistake and you just explode it over and over and over. But don't despair. Anything can be brought back with a computer. The next question I'm asked, I think I was asked this 3 times just today, is whether or not it is safe to shop or bank online. There are some people who do all of their banking and shopping online, and others who are petrified that if they do anything online, all of their information is going to be hacked and stolen. Well, the first thing to remember is it's actually safer to shop and bank online than in real life. If you're shopping on an online site and you're typing in your credit card, as long as it is a safe and secure site, and all of our major ones are, you have nothing to worry about. In fact, you are safer typing in your credit card number to a secure site online than you are going to a restaurant, handing your credit card to the waiter, and what do? They go away for 5 minutes and they come back. What did they do in that 5 minutes? Well, we hope that all they did was process your dinner bill. Is it possible that while they were gone for 5 minutes, they copied down your numbers or swiped something else? Absolutely. It happens every day. One of the reasons why you hear about major security breaches, when a store several months ago, Target, was hacked, and there was a major security breach there, and everyone thinks, I shouldn't shop online ever again. Well, there's a couple of things to remember. First of all, you don't hear about all those times in a restaurant or a store or something else that someone's credit card number was stolen. But you do hear when it's a big thing, like a breach at a major department store. It's sort of like people's fear of flying. It is much safer to fly than to drive. My mother flew in from Hawaii yesterday. She was safer on that airplane than I was driving the 6 blocks to the studio tonight. But when there's a plane crash, everybody hears about it. Do you hear about every single car crash? No. So that's why online shopping and banking is actually much safer than you think it is. If something big happens, you hear about it. But day to day, millions and millions of transactions are going through with absolutely no problem online. Now, there are things that you can do to make sure that you're even safer than that, because the biggest problem is actually not the computer. It's human error. So, what you want to think about is, first of all, passwords. Everything is only as safe as your password. Now, if you have a password like, the most popular password in the world is password. The second most popular one is 123456788. After that, I believe would come 1111111 and all sorts of things like that. Don't pick things like that. So if you don't have secure passwords, unfortunately you are asking for it. Now, if you're like most people, you have a password, and what do? You have Post-it notes all over your computer or your desk with your passwords, right? Or maybe a notepad that you wrote them all down. Again, the problem is not the computer. The problem is someone stealing that Post-it note right off of your computer. Computer online banking and shopping is not an insecure thing. It's leaving passwords written all over Post-it notes. Another common problem is having the same password for everything. You might have the same password for your bank as you do for, your dog groomer or something. That's not a good idea. I know it's a pain to have lots and lots of passwords, and you're saying, how am I supposed to keep track of all these passwords if you're telling me not to have little Post-it notes all over the place? I think password protection is going to be a whole nother episode, but certainly you want to consider having different passwords for different level of security, banking being the most important, and maybe your dog account being somewhere down the line with password security. The other place where people run into problems with security with online banking has nothing to do with the bank. It has to do with email, phishing and spam, and all sorts of things that you might get in an email. If you got a phone call and someone said, "Hi, I'm with the bank. Could you please give me your credit card number?" You'd never do it. But somehow if you get an email that looks like it's from your bank and they say, "Click here to confirm your account number," are you going to do it? It's the same problem. The bank does not cause that. Unfortunately, we have people who are hackers and such who are trying their best to get into those accounts. They know that they can't get in through the bank because it's so secure. So they try to get in through you. Now, if someone called you and said, "There's an emergency at the bank, we need your account number," you know better than to give it to them. You know you should call the bank yourself and say, "Is there a problem?" The same thing with an email. If you receive an email that says, "Click here to confirm your account," don't click there. Either call the bank or go to the bank's website online yourself. So the same thing holds true online as it does offline. You need to be aware that there are people out there who certainly don't have your best interests at heart. So the security is not a web problem, it's an unfortunate people problem. But online banking, shopping, that's pretty much how I got through Christmas this year. And our final question has to do with texting. I don't know if you're all into texting as much as I am and my family is, but doesn't anyone text in English anymore? What do all those little symbols mean? Well, if you want someone to text in English, text to me, because I admit I text with capitalization and full punctuation and everything else. But everybody does make fun of me for that. I have here a bunch of different common acronyms that people are texting. Certainly, people want to shorten things, although I've seen people shorten things so much that instead of writing OK, they just write K. That's a little lazy. But here are some of our most common acronyms that we have up here. Starting in the top, we have tomorrow. Well, that one was pretty easy. Followed by tonight. LOL is a tricky one. LOL used to be known as lots of love, but nowadays it's used much more commonly as laugh out loud. Now, I've heard of lots of people getting into trouble with that one. Somebody will receive a text saying, "Oh my gosh, I've had a terrible afternoon. I crashed the car and broke my leg." And somebody texts back, LOL. They think they wrote lots of love. They really said laugh out loud. Next thing you know, friendship is shattered. Be careful. Don't use any of these acronyms unless you are absolutely sure what they mean. OMG, oh my God, there's a nice exciting one. Before N, before now. And BRB, be right back. Like, I'm in the middle of texting you, but I have to go answer the doorbell. VBG, that one was a new one even on me. Very big grin. I have to say, if somebody texted me that one, I'd have to look it up myself. And TTLYL, talk to you later. There seem to be a lot that say, I have to go, and I'll be back in a little bit. We have GR8, pretty easy, you know that from a license plate as great. JK in texting stands for just kidding. Perhaps if you got into trouble with that LOL one, the next one you should put up is a JK for just kidding in case someone's offended. XOXO, well, that means the same as it does on a Hallmark greeting card. Hugs and kisses. And finally, OIC. Well, that stands for Oh, I see. There are lots of places on the web, if you're not sure what somebody texted you, you can look it up. Just type it into Google, just a few couple of letters, and find out exactly what it meant. And as I tell my own children when it comes to vocabulary, don't use something that you're not sure what it means. So you certainly don't want to text something that unless you're absolutely sure what it means. And if someone texts you, look it up first. Well, I see we have a couple of minutes for a bonus question. Since I have young children, I am asked very often, at what age should a child have a cell phone? Well, that one definitely sparks lots of arguments with people. Certainly the cell phone question has a lot to do with responsibility of the child. No reason to entrust a child who is going to lose a cell phone with a cell phone. So that's your first question. How often are they losing their stuff? But once your child enters a certain age, you're going to be up against all the other parents and all the other kids who say, I already have one, or they're lying. Could be. But I want to spin it around. Besides thinking about the child's responsibility, I want you to think for a moment about the cell phone as a convenience for you. Any of you who are parents of children older than those middle ages, like teenagers or even older, you're probably thrilled to have a cell phone. If you can't find someone, what do? Call them, text them. Heck, if I can't find my husband, I have a great way of getting in touch with him. Well, the same thing goes with young children. If the child is old enough that they are being left someplace, whether it's soccer practice with their coach, or after-school programs, or someplace that you are not with them at all times. I'm not talking about a 9-year-old walking the streets. But I know from my own son, who's 11, there have been many times that he's at a soccer practice with adults. But if I'm running late, the cell phone was a convenience for me to be able to call. So you want to think about two things with the great cell phone question. How responsible is the child? And how much would the child having a cell phone help you? Now, if you're always at the practice, heck, if you're the coach, you don't need a cell phone. They can wait until they're teenagers. But if not, it's not a bad idea. Keep in mind, it's not what the child wants, it's what you want. Because when we're talking about cell phones, we're talking about bills galore. There are also things you can do on the cell phone to make sure that you see everything that the child sees, that all the texts are streaming through your own cell phone so that there's no danger of them contacting people that you don't want them to be contacting. Many cell phones are built in with parental controls now so that the cell phone can be communication only, if that's what you'd like. So I hope that these questions helped. As I said, I'm asked them every day, so now I had some time to devote to them instead of running around. Good luck with your computers, and join us next time on Technically Speaking.